everybody. Thank you for joining us today for Midstates Group Flex Your Specs Postal Webinar. My name is Tyler Hansen. I'm the Director of Marketing and Sales Support here at Midstates Group. I'm joined today by a panel of speakers that has some outstanding information for you today. So we have Michelle Zalewski, who's the VP of Postal Affairs and Sales for ALG Worldwide Logistics. She's going to be covering some supply chain solutions to reduce postal cost. We also have Eric Stevenson, Chief Operating Officer with Midstates Group. He's going to be covering some information on the postal increase that we'll be seeing on July 14th, 2024, and also some Flex Your Specs options. And we also have Taylor Wensman, who's the VP of Logistics here at Midstates Group, and he is going to go over some 2024 and 2025 promotional campaigns. Before we get started, just some general housekeeping items. Just make sure all your lines are muted. We ask that you also keep your phones muted too as well if you're dialing in from phones. If you have any questions, feel free to place those in the chat box and address them to the meeting organizer. We'll address all the questions at the end of the presentation. Should time not allow, we'll direct the question to one of our panel participants and they'll get back to you with a response within the next 48 hours. This presentation is being recorded and will be available on our website within the next week. So we'll also email it out to the group too. So that way, if you want to refer back to anything or add any questions and stuff like that. So with that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Eric Stevenson, who's going to be covering the postal increase here on July 14th.
Good afternoon, everybody. I just want to thank each of you for taking time out of your schedule to at least listen to what we have to say, get you up to date as far as some of the increase that is going into effect here in a couple of weeks, and at least hear some of the opportunities that we have to offset some of these costs that you're going to see. I won't spend a lot of time on the first few slides here. There's the increase. It's been approved by the PRC, and it is what it is. So we went through this in January. We're again in July, and we'll see it again next January. But these are the average increases across the classes. Average increase is 7.8%, and I just within each class there's different increases depending on how the mail is sorted out. This is just for those of you who do any first class mailings. This is just what it is. As far as your stamp price is going up, 7.4% to 73 cents, and then each additional ounce, what your postcards are going to look like if you're doing any first class mailings. But again, that's the increases that you'll see starting on after Sunday, July 14th. A lot of you listening today do marketing mail, and this is just kind of the cost coverages, so you have a little bit of an understanding of how does the USPS come up with the increases, and are they covering their costs? And if you look at the mail volume and the revenue per piece and what they've got into cost per piece, you'll see the letters are covering their costs. Unfortunately, when you look at the flat shape base, they're not. And anytime that they have a class of mail that's not covering their cost basis, then that gives them the allowance or the flexibility to add additional incentives or additional increases onto that class of mail. So across marketing mail price change letters, not quite 7%. Flats, again, because they're not covering their cost basis, are going to see the bulk of it of an increase. And then just mark down below if it's a marketing mail letter, which you're going to see across the AADC and 5-digit increases of what you're going to see, a penny and a half or a little bit more across each different sort of the mail. So when you look just strictly at marketing mail, these are your increases, and they included both letters and flats. And then just a breakdown of where the increases are really falling. And if you look at, you'll see letters are 7.5%. Not as big when you get into high density and saturation portion of it. You'll just see where the increases are actually falling and where the current price is, what the proposed is, so that when you're looking at your mailing lists and stuff like that, where do you need to get to achieve the most savings? And again, if you look at the flats, that's where the bulk of the increase is going to be had. And then just the last slide is just, this is what we've seen since August of 2021, and what we can expect to see moving into July of 2027. These are the factors of what the post office looks at when they are trying to prepare their rate case and present it to the Board of Governors and to the PRC to what do we need for an increase. You've got the CPI, which you will always have for an increase. Then it's the density adder, and this is one that had gotten a lot of attention, but anybody who ships parcels, this is like your delivery area surcharge or your extended area surcharge or residential surcharge. It's just, as mail volume declines, and density is not there, they tend to add this in, and that's where they get the density adder. And then the retirement, again, they can only do the density retirement once a year, so you'll always see that in July. But Michelle, would you like to add a little bit more information to that, what's going on when they are preparing or talking about their rate increases?
Yeah, sure, no problem. So as Eric said, the Postal Service put this out to plan future rate increases over the next couple of years. Obviously, some variable to this is CPI, which is the red number. But you'll notice July 2026, the retirement adder does roll off. According to the law, the Postal Service now can stop overfunding the retiree healthcare and go back to the normal way of how most agencies fund. And then you still have the density adder. One interesting thing, the Postal Regulatory Commission is starting their rate review, right? So it's a 5-year rate review where they review how the Postal Service sets its rates to determine if it follows kind of the industry, the law, and what the Postal Service needs for rates. So one of the things that the industry is working on is really talking about that density adder. What was put in place to help the Postal Service, because they have to deliver to every address 6 days a week by universal service obligation. And as the number of pieces per address goes down, they needed a way to kind of stop that sort of a quicksand. But now what's happening is because they're taking their full rate authority, it's a catch-22, right? So you raise rates, you see less pieces, the more density adder the Postal Service gets. So it's kind of this cycle effect. So the industry is kind of saying to the PRC, we need to look at that. We need to see how we can adjust that. That really isn't being used and helping the Postal Service the way it was intended.
So knowing that, there's going to be an increase in July, that there's increases that inevitably are going to happen in the future, how can you defer some of the impacts? So next we'll talk about the incentives and promotions, and then Taylor will talk about that. Michelle will talk a little bit about what they can do and bring to the table for us by optimizing pre-sorts and code services. And then we'll talk about where are you at with your current mail and can you flex and make any adjustments? So with that, I'll turn it over to Taylor.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, everyone, for joining. I'm just going to spend a little bit more time here going over promotions that we have here in 2024 that we can still take advantage of, and then really give some description to how some of those are changing here as we move into 2025, and just some opportunities to be strategic on how we can place those together to make sure that we maximize the discounts that you guys are able to receive. So as you can see, this is just the general time frame of when these are able to be elected here in 2024. The tactile and sensory and interactive, along with the personalized color, those are ending here in about a month. But the main ones to take advantage of are emerging technology. If anyone is in BREs, there is some reply mail that we can review as well. Otherwise, informed delivery and retargeting are also opportunities here at the end of 2024. This slide goes a little bit more in depth on what each promotion is. So I'll spend a little bit of time going over these, and then this will help here as we review 2025 also. But emerging and advanced technology, that's really looking if you have any type of QR code or something that helps drive people to a mobile shopping, or something that they're able to be interactive with your mail piece. And currently, That's at a 3 or 4% promotion or rebate back to you depending on the level that is interactive. And then there is the tactile sensory along with personalized color. Those both go more into mail piece design. But again, being if there are creative mail pieces or different things that you might have, peel and reveal or other components within your mail piece, those could be reviewed for further discounts. There is the reply mail IMBA. That's again, we're encouraging people just to use the qualified business reply mail. And then the discount between 3 or 6% is if you're using a static or a serialized barcode. Informed delivery. This is if you utilize an informed delivery mail campaign, helping mailers see what's coming before it's in the mailbox or knowing what's going to hit their mailbox, but then using a digital and interactive piece there to try to help drive traffic as well. And then there is the retargeting promotion. Again, just how can you utilize mail to help drive consumers back to your website. So a new component here that they've added in, it was approved for 2025, but they've kicked this off where we can start taking advantage of this here in July. But they're adding a catalog incentive. So this is a right along, this can go on top of any other promotion that they're running, but it's an opportunity to receive an extra promotion if your mail piece qualifies as a catalog. So it's a different definition than what a traditional catalog would be traditionally thought of. So it's at least 12 pages. It could be letter shaped, flat shaped. But if you have any questions on if your mail piece qualifies for this, you reach out to us. We can review that and help make sure that this credit or promotion would be valuable for you. And Michelle, I don't know if you have anything additional you'd like to add on the catalog side.
Yeah. Sure. So one of the things I think that's encouraging is the Postal Service has stated this might be the easiest discount customers can apply for. It's $1,1,000 right off of your postage. As Taylor said, right? You code the file when you pay postage. The 12 pages could be 6 pages front and back. That equals 12 pages. And customers are really getting, savvy on how to participate in this. Like I said, it's something, if you're not sure if you participate, reach out to Midstates. I definitely encourage, everybody who can take it, definitely take it. It's also going to give the Postal Service some volume of what they're deeming is catalogs in the mail. And that's really why they're doing this, is they want to try and capture, how that interaction with end users are doing with the mail piece. As far as ordering, buying something, going to their website. So this is one mechanism that they're using to gather that data.
These slides are covering the mail growth incentive that the USPS rolled out here in 2024. This is going to continue on through 2025, but it's really an opportunity if you are mailing 1 million pieces or more, that if you have continued growth over your baseline or over that mark, that you're starting to take a pretty significant credit of 30% off your postage. And here, this gives a breakdown of just a couple different scenarios that are out there. So, under the marketing mail scenario, for example, if you mailed 12,615,000 pieces in the benchmark period, and then in the following period you mailed a little over 13 million pieces, your total postage paid during that time would be roughly 425,000. The average postage per piece would be just over 31 cents. And then the discount that you'd have on that would be roughly 9.5 cents. So taking the baseline that you had of 12,615,000, and then what you mailed in addition to that would be approximately 634,000 pieces. And if you take that at that discount of 9.5 cents per piece, it would be roughly a $60,000 rebate that you would have over that period. And then the second scenario under first class, this is an example of you might not have mailed over 1 million pieces previously. But then in this scenario, you did mail over 1 million pieces. That extra 5,000 pieces, again, would qualify for that discount. And in this scenario, it's about $840 in a rebate that you would receive. And then this is just further detail, again, reiterating just what is eligible for this, and just the different opportunities, how the credits are rebated back. They rebate those credits back out on a quarterly basis. So just they're not immediate, but they do review those incentives and get those funds back. And then here, as we head into 2025, there's not a lot of changes with the promotions. It's mainly the incentive that's changed. There are a couple additions with continuous contact and add-ons, but if we'll go piece by piece here. So with integrated technology, again, that's utilizing a QR code. Last year was called emerging technology. This year they're just calling it integrated technology, but really trying to drive that mobile shopping through a mail piece. That is reducing down 1%, so it's going from 4% to a 3% incentive. And then the tactile sensory also reduced by 1%, otherwise that remained consistent. But the new one here that we think will be valuable to review is the continuous contact. So during the promotion or incentive period, if you are mailing to the same resident 2 or more times, you are eligible for a incentive off the postage for those pieces. So I think that'll be one that will be valuable to quite a few of our prospects and customers here to review further. The reply mail IMBA, that one's staying exactly how it was in 2024. And then the first class mail and advertising, it looks new, but it just replaced the personalized color that we had in 2024. And then here is a slide just showing how you can piece these together. So the integrated technology, that's again going to be a sliding 6-month scale. So if there were other promotions that you wanted to take advantage of, this could slide to make sure that you were able to have promotion coverage throughout the majority of the year. A couple changes that they did add, they removed the informed delivery promotion itself, but they made it as an add-on. So if you were taking continuous contact or the integrated technology promotion and you are still using an informed delivery campaign, you would have another 1% incentive on top of the incentive you were receiving. And then they also have the same for sustainability. So that's the use of recycled paper, and there's quite a few different grades that they allow for that. So if that's of interest, we can review that also.
I'll move over to Michelle, and she's going to talk about how to reduce some postage costs. So,
Absolutely. So thank you guys for having me. Always excited to talk about the services ALG has that can help reduce postage, right? Postage is a very large spend part of a print project. So at ALG, we offer what we call co-services. So we're going to go through some of that. Any questions, again, feel free to put in the chat. So we do co-transportation or dropship, co-palletization, co-mail, and co-mingle. And customers can use one or more than one of these for a particular mailing. We work with Midstates and they do a great job trying to optimize kind of what is the best cost per piece or the lowest cost per piece for any particular mailing campaign. Next. So savings with co-services, right? So how we save is it reduces your postage cost. Consolidation takes in finished mail pallets, and we reduce freight costs because we're building full trucks to individual postal facilities. So you're only paying a portion of that truck's freight versus a whole truckload, going to New York when you only have a couple of pallets. We're building full loads for that, reducing costs. Co-mingle and co-mail. This optimizes pre-sort by combining your mail with other pieces' mail. I know a lot of mail owners may say, well, but I don't want my mailing to be combined with somebody else's. The Postal Service combines them before delivery to the final mile anyway, so you might as well take advantage of some of that savings. When we talk co-mingle, typically we're talking about letter size, marketing mail letter size pieces or first class. Co-mail, typically we're talking about marketing mail and periodical flats. So this goes in a little bit of the drop ship discounts available. So this again is kind of the freight piece of getting to the NDC or SCF, soon to be changing RPDCs and LPCs and SNDCs, right? Every time you think you know the acronyms that the Postal Service uses, every few years they go ahead and they change all of the names. But we're still going to call them SCFs and NDCs for ease of purpose. But again, it also lets us target delivery windows, right? So if you are mailing across the country and you have a targeted window, we can help achieve that because we can hit California, Chicago, and Miami all within the same 3 or 4 days in order to have an in-home delivery that's within that 3 to 4 day time frame. So this just kind of gives you a visual on how drop shipping works, right? Instead of you guys going direct origin or to an SCF, you send it to us, we build the trucks, and then we deliver it out to those facilities. So one of the things that we get asked often, and this is why we put this slide together, is the Postal Service with the July rates is reducing the dropship discount for letters and flats. There's still a decent amount of dropship discounts available. So we get asked all the time, well, are you going to see mail go back to the NDC? Are you going to see mail go to origin? We don't believe so. And the reason for that is, most importantly, if you look to the right, you will see a USPS entry facility along with freight costs. And we have listed 3 different buckets of the NDC and then the SCF that services that NDC. So we're about 94%, all the freight that we move through our facility is about 94% delivery to the SCF. So NDC volume isn't quite as large. And if you look, there's still decent savings to the SCF. And we're showing here that the freight cost is not all that different. So until you get to the point where the freight cost to go to an SCF exceeds the discount that the Postal Service is giving you, only then will we see mail move back to the NDC. So we believe we're still going to see a lot of volume going to the SCF. And that's a huge benefit because SCF entry is much more controlled. Postal Service doesn't have to break it down further and process it and move it on their own trucks to other facilities. The SCF is kind of the destination facility that will process that mail to then get it to the DDU. Usually we see in-home delivery within 2 days from entering at an SCF. And that other slide again was just kind of what we saw with letter mail. So now we go into commingle. And as I mentioned, everybody in the industry has their different, definitions of what they call co-services. For us at ALG, commingle always refers to our letter mail. It's first class or marketing mail. Commingling reduces postage by you're combining multiple mail pieces together to get to a 5-digit SCF. So there's all different pieces, but it's going into the same tray to the Postal Service. So this is just, I'm a visual diagram person, right? So I always like to use these. So this kind of just shows, before commingle, each mailing is individual, it goes on its own, in its own tray, on its own pallet. And in commingle, things are combined in a tray on a pallet to the post office. This is some pictures of the commingle equipment that we have at ALG. So you'll see the picture to the left is a commingle machine, and you'll see all of the trays that are going down and all of the trays that are kind of stacked on that conveyor. Each tray is its own 5-digit zip code. So that's how the machine works, is it runs the mail pieces, it reads that barcode, and it puts it into the right tray. And you'll see here the picture in the upper right is the induct line. So that's how pieces are fed into commingle. And then the lower picture is kind of a view further back where you can look down and see, all of those 5-digit trays. So this is a postage saving sample. So if you are doing letter mail pieces and you have not taken a look at commingle, I recommend you do so. There is some savings that can be had. with the current rates and then the new postage rates. As you can see here, you have still some significant savings. The dropship discounts have decreased a little bit, but the container charges have stayed the same, and the Postal Service is increasing the full service discount for July. So again, there's definitely savings on the table that can be had. So co-mail. So co-mail typically we refer to as our flats process. So we co-mail marketing mail and periodical flats at our facility. Co-mail, just like commingle, you're reducing postage by combining more than one mail piece into a bundle onto a pallet that goes to the Postal Service. Co-mail, the goal for that is to hit carrier route level. So the more pieces you have in a co-mail run, the higher percentage of carrier route you will get. And then that reduces the handling for the postal services, which is why you get the additional savings. Next. So this just really shows you, right? So you can go from, most don't do non-automation, but some automation levels to carrier route. And at the bottom, it shows you the cost per piece. So you can see the transgression of where you could start for a cost per piece and where you can end up for postage. So there's some really great savings opportunities for flats. And then of course you can add to it the things that Taylor was mentioning, the catalog incentive, the promotions, the mail growth incentive. Those are all things that you can stack on top of a co-service as well. So another visual. So this is before co-mail, right? The individual mailings. And then the next slide will show you when you combine all three mailings, onto a bundle and onto a pallet. And that's how we merge into the co-mail. We also have a video that we can send to Eric and Taylor. I think you guys have it. If you don't, or if anybody is interested of a co-mail machine running, it's really, really cool to see. We're happy to send that over as well. And then this is just that last slide showing co-mail pieces going together on the pallet. And this is a co-mail machine. So as you saw, commingle machines, right, are kind of smaller. Co-mail is pretty significant. I don't even think these pictures do it justice. But if you look at the photo on the left side, the co-mail machine is very large. We have 4 36 pocket machines at our facility in Illinois. One pocket is one title. And then you'll see here the picture on the right side, where you see that kind of colored light, that is the inkjet table. So in a co-mail world, we get books that are unaddressed but bound, and we do all of the inkjetting inline. The controller on the machine knows what title gets what name, and we also have cameras on there, so it will take images of the piece to make sure right name, right book. Co-mail benefits. So most importantly, it saves money, right? That's what we're all here for, is to drive down the final cost. You get less sorting into postal facilities, less handling. So the piece isn't as damaged, right? Because it's not running through multiple machines and getting into finer sorts. We're doing that final sort for the Postal Service. And then faster delivery, more tighter in-home window. If you can imagine, if you mail something as origin or even to the NDC and it's not sorted finally, it takes much longer for the post office to deliver it because they are sorting it. We deliver to the post office a carrier route bundle to the SCF. Most of the work is already done for them, and then they can move it out, so you will get better delivery timeframes as well.
Thanks, Michelle. Everything that we've kind of talked about up to this point has all been kind of postage driven. What does the post office have available for you from either an incentive or a discount that you can take, promotion that you can take advantage of? And Michelle has talked about, what can we do to reduce your postage expense, using different options from mail preparation and presentation to the post office, and then bypassing the postal facilities and going direct to the destinations. when we start talking about Flex Your Specs, which was the marketing program that we put together, and some of you may have received postcards and things on it and emails, but this is more of a materials and manufacturing question, and it's more questions to you as a customer, as a mail owner. Are you taking advantage of every opportunity to make sure that we are maximizing and optimizing how you are producing your mail piece? So with that, you know, it's looking at your paper that you currently are using now to mail. You know, some of the mail pieces have, you know, may have 100 or 80 pound cover. You know, do you need to have that heavy of stock on the outside to protect your mail piece? In some instances, yes. You know, it's my whole high profile piece, and I need that to pop and to be presented to my customers. If it's not, you know, can you get away with a 60 pound? You know, it not only does it take away from the piece weight, which adds to your distribution costs, but it could be possibly less expensive to produce from a material standpoint. Inside on your body sections, you know, does it need to be glossy? Can you go to an SCA or a newsprint type paper to possibly lower the weight again? Do you need the 40 or 50 pound? Are you open to any different types of options inside on your mail piece? And lastly, you know, what that does is, can you lower the weight, which anytime from a postage and from a distribution perspective, if you can lower the piece weight, you can typically reduce some of the transportation and distribution costs. The other one is, you know, are you optimizing from a manufacturing, you know, perspective, and can you reduce the piece size? You know, are you currently mailing now as a flat? If we've shown you that the post office is taking larger increases in that classification of mail. Does it have to be that size? Are you 8 by 10.5 now, or 8.5 by, or 8 by 11? You know, can you get to a 6 by 10.5 piece? Is that an option? Not only does that take you from a flat to a letter, but it also can reduce weight. And you know, are you willing to make that adjustment? You know, if you're a 6 by 9 piece, can you go to 5 3/8 by 8.5? You know, just efficiency. Are you working with your current provider to maximize, you know, their operational, their cutoffs of their presses to make sure you're maximizing the paper and you're not, you know, there's not a lot of waste from a trim perspective. Is your full size catalog, you know, I put in here under 4 ounces, but is it over 4 ounces? Can we take some of the and reduce the weight of your piece to get it under 4 ounces? If you are under 4 ounces, is there any other things we can do to adjust to get under 3 ounces? Because if you get to under 3 ounces, okay, now we have the possibility of making that transition from a flat to a letter. You know, and can we adjust the page count? I mean, it's just, those are different things. If you're producing a 16 or a 32 page catalog today, to achieve the same square inches, can we go adjust the paper weights and get you to a 48 or a 64 page catalog on a smaller size? Again, moving from a flat to the letter is where you will see most of your postage savings, up to 40%. If you're, you know, if going to the smaller size is an option, you know, and depending on the size and the page count of your weight of your piece, you know, can we chop fold that piece in half and tab it to get it to a letter? Again, you've got to be, you know, it's going to get tabbed, but, you know, can we adjust, again, the weight and the trim size that will allow us to chop fold that and tab it and get you that letter savings that you can achieve by doing that. And then if you're currently mailing as a letter, you know, you've kind of heed some of the advices that over the years we've talked to several of our customers, and they've made some of these transitions and they've made transitions and some of these changes in their mailings. You know, are you taking every advantage of every possible opportunity, you know, from a manufacturing and materials perspective, and you're at a letter rate, you know, are you able to drop ship? Right now, you know, if you're mailing origin today and it's a substantial size of a mailing, you know, and you're mailing origin, we're prepping those pallets today to go to the destinations that Michelle said. You know, they've got pallet placards that are going to go to New York, to Dallas, to DC, to LA. The only difference is we put them on a trailer that's spotted on our dock here at our facility, and it runs the full gamut of the postal stream. We can put them on a full truck, go to Chicago, and then maximize the distribution and optimize the savings that you can get. So for sure, if you are in a letter, we should be drop shipping your mail if it's eligible. If you're not, I mean, Michelle talked about a commingle. If you can get to 5-digit SCF, there's a tremendous opportunity for savings. And then when you talk about some of the incentives that, Taylor talked about, postcards and self-mailers to support your piece, did you mail 1 million pieces last year? If you, by doing some of these other things to, again, another touch to your customer. But anything you do to maximize the savings by utilizing the promotions and the incentives, along with the savings you can already achieve by using one of the services that Michelle talked about. With that, that's kind of everything that we had to present. Hopefully it's been informative. I think the biggest thing that we hoped everybody realizes is that the increases that the post office has, the way it is at least laid out today, are going to continue. So we wouldn't be doing justice by not giving you some information to hopefully help you make some decisions that will help you reduce any of the increase, or at least offset some of that cost. And if you have more questions, be sure to please reach out to your Midstates, your sales rep, your customer service rep, and we'll get the right people involved and make sure that we help you answer any questions that you may have or give you different options. And again, thank you for time out of your busy day and busy schedule. And we'll now look at some of the questions that are in the chat.
Yeah.
And one thing I wanted to add, if anybody's on the call that happens to have a marketing mail flat that's 10 ounces, 11 ounces, 12, very heavy flats, we're seeing that the Postal Service is fixing their rate mistakes from last July, and that in some cases postage is being reduced. So Eric and Taylor, I'm sure, you're thrilled to have people mail heavier pieces, right, for you to print. But there is now an incentive back to do so because, again, they've fixed kind of the piece and pound rate that was messed up in the July 2023 rate increase.
So it looks like the first question, but Michelle, you addressed it, looks like, but the question was, do Slim Jims count as catalogs? Do you want to, looks like, yes, they do. So thanks for your response on that, Michelle. Next question was, can a catalog incentive be combined with other incentive programs? And the answer was yes, you can combine a catalog incentive with other USPS promotions like informed delivery. So next question is, are there still paper restrictions as a result of the pandemic?
Good question. No, there was paper got tight during the pandemic for sure, but there's been no supply issues for the last 3 years. Not an issue at all anymore.
Okay. Next question is the tactile discount available to mailing that occurs late December, early January of 2025?
That is in the period where it is not covered. So if you're talking December 24 into January 2025, but it would be eligible again in February 2025.
Okay, thanks, Taylor. We did have a couple questions that got emailed before the webinar too as well. So the one question was, do you have an example of where you saved a customer money when you flexed any of their specs?
Yeah, we would. One example, I guess, that happened here within the last week where one of our customers was looking at actually taking a mailing out and not producing it at all. And they were a full-size scale 8 by 10 1/8. and they were gonna do away with it. It was a 16-page flat on 60-pound paper. And when you look at those from a square inch, that's 1,296 square inches. What we did is we scaled the piece down. We kept the paper the same, so it's still on the 60-pound gloss. We took it to a 5 3/8 by 7.5 piece. So again, changing it from a flat to a letter. We had to go to 32 pages rather than the 16 that they were producing before. 1,290 square inches, so they lost 6 square inches total over the piece. But we were able to show a savings for them of about $4,000. So almost 40% savings. And that's just on the manufacturing and the production side. Then you would see the additional savings of mailing as a flat versus mailing as a letter, which could be anywhere up to another 30 or 40%.
Okay. Thanks, Eric. The other question that came in was, if I don't have my own permit, can I still co-mail?
Yeah, so this is something that's changed for Midstates here in 2024, and we'll have more information that we'll talk with customers about here soon. But previously, if customers wanted to co-mail, they needed to create their own permit, apply for the permit, and then create some other information and set that up, get their own mailer ID with the USPS. But now we have it set up where customers can utilize our co-mail permit number to be able to co-mail, so that essentially we're able to pass along those postal savings that we weren't able to previously, but now we'll get those postal savings to our customers without them needing to go through the extra effort of setting up their account and managing those accounts themselves.
Okay. Thanks, Taylor. Another question just came in. Can you offer personalized reviews based on what we mail?
Yes, I mean, I can take a stab at that. Eric might jump on, but as personalized reviews, I would believe you're thinking around just really reviewing what you mail and what solutions or suggestions we would provide. Absolutely, we try to do that. I know our sales team tries to do that anytime they're reviewing a mail piece, to really let our customers know how we might be able to make some minor changes to that would really help save some additional dollars or help with mailing incentives as well. So if there is any mail piece or something that you're interested in us reviewing and how we can help optimize that, we're more than happy to do so.
Okay. Thanks, Taylor. Another one came in. I didn't quite understand the new catalog definition and its significance. Our catalog would seem to be clearly fit the definition. If there is some kind of new discount coming from that kind of piece.
Yeah, so it is, the definition is pretty vague, it's pretty wide. It's not a clear-cut catalog that most of us would envision. But there is a savings on it. It's about $1 per thousand, so 0.001 cents per piece that's mailed is what their catalog incentive is. And that would be on top of another incentive if you would elect to take part in any of the other promotions that they're offering.
Another question just came in. Can you now qualify for the incentive program if you don't have your own permit?
That is one where you do need to have your own permit to prevent printers and mail owners like ourselves from combining permits together to receive those. In order for the USPS to offer those, you do have your own permits that you need to apply for that are specific to yourself.
Any other questions at all from anybody?
As mentioned, if any questions do come up, don't hesitate to reach out to your sales rep, customer service group. Anyone here will be more than willing to help review any mail pieces that you have, answer any questions, and really come up with some solutions to help minimize this postal increase that we're going to be seeing here in the next couple weeks.
All right, well, thank you for joining us today. And if you have any other questions, just like Taylor said, feel free to reach out to your sales executive here at Midstates, and we'd be more than willing to answer any questions you have. And thanks a lot and have a great day.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.